Hello and welcome to this next Unity tutorial. In this video we will be covering over various lights and what shaders are and kind of how they do. I will have another episode sometime in the future that will show how shaders work in more detail and some basics on making our own shaders. Shaders can get very complex, so we'll just be using some basic ones in this video. To start out, we're going to talk about the different kinds of lights in Unity. So by default in your scene, you have this light here, and this light is called a directional light. And what a directional light does is it makes light come from one direction, kind of like how our sun works. So I'm actually going to make a new material called black. I'm going to make it black and apply it to our ground. And then on the directional light, you'll see there's these essentially light rays that are sticking out from it. And these rays determine the direction of light. So if you notice here, this side of our player is very bright, and this side has a shadow, because the light's coming and hitting that side and casting the shadow there. But if I was to switch the rotational tool, this tool, and rotate it, I could change the shadow to be on the other side. And you can use this effect to create a sunset. Like if you tilt it here, you'll notice that the sky kind of comes orange, and it's like a sunset, or middle of day is straight down, or nighttime would be up. And this is just kind of how you control the different light. And if, say, you wanted a game that had a time scale, you could have this light slowly spin to give an effect of the sun traveling around the Earth. So that's just a little introduction to a directional light. So I'm now going to delete it, and our scene becomes kind of dark because there's no light. There's a little bit of ambient light from the background stuff, but there's not anything major. And then we're going to go to Game Object, Light, and we're going to make a point light. And a point light is a light that emits from a point. So over here, we can increase the intensity, and then you can change how far it affects with this bubble. And if we hit play, you'll see we have this little light glowing right there in the center. And if our player enters it, it gets super bright when we're near it. And that's just how a point light works. It's this little thing, you can't control its direction. Light just emits from that one point. So if you had like a lamp in the corner, or say a torch, you could attach a point light to it, and then that thing would give off light. And as this moves, the light travels with it. So you could have, like, say, a light swinging back and forth, and it give kind of a creepy shadowy effect as it goes back and forth. So that's a point light. You can change its settings over here. The range is essentially how far does it affect. Intensity is how much is it intense. And bounce intensity is how much does it reflect off other stuff. If you have a bounce effect, it won't work in real time. You have to essentially set it to a place, bake your scene, and then it will work, which I'll show you guys in a later video. But so that's the point light, so I'm going to delete that. Then we're going to have another light, which is the spotlight. And a spotlight does exactly what you think it would. It creates a spot of light that we can pretty much project wherever we want. So what I did is I just made the range really big, and I made the intensity max. And now we have this little light here that you can travel in front of, and it's like a spotlight. So if you wanted to showcase something, you could have two of them and kind of tilt them at these angles here and make like a show effect where you have two spotlights, and in the center it's very bright, kind of like a stage, so that your person's fully lit from the front or something. These are also good things for overhead lamps or something, or just something bright that shines directly down. And they don't have to shine down like if you see with these two lights. I have them at angles here to make this little overlapping effect. So you can do a lot with these lights. The third light is an area light, which we won't be covering, but that is used for large areas, like making something glow. And unfortunately that requires you to pre-build it, so we won't be using that. So I'm just going to delete these two spotlights, and I'm going to make my directional light again, tilt it to a night position so that we have our scene lit up again. And looks like we need to say we want soft shadows. that. And now we have our light like we did before. So we just have this little shadow. Jump, you can see the shadow move. So those are the different kinds of lights in Unity. And now I'm going to show you a little bit about shaders. So shaders are ways of essentially changing how things in your game look. So we have these materials, and with the materials, we have all these options here. But if you change the shader, which is up on the top here, you can get even more options or less options, depending on what you want to do. There are lots of different shaders for lots of different things. I'm just going to be covering some of the legacy shaders. You can also download shaders from the asset store and get new ones. I'll have an entire video on the asset store later on, so you can either play with these or wait till we get to there. But these allow you to do special effects, such as a reflective one would make your object reflective, and if you had another object come up near it, it would reflect it. Or we can do, say, a texture, and this means that you just put like a texture on it and it will just be that texture. We can do transparent, which makes it so that as you travel, things are see-through through it. So if we make a game object like a cube, and we move it over here, and let's make a new material, create material, let's say red. This. You can see that we can, oh, I thought that was the case. Player. Do we not have, I thought that's what transparent did. On the transparent. I guess transparent doesn't work like that. That's what I thought it did. This is a little different. Like, so with our current thing, we can jump up on top of the cube. So you can just mess around, look through the shaders, find something that you like. I'd recommend looking in the legacy shaders because they have some old stuff. Like there's self-emitting, which means your objects will glow. And these are just cool ways of adding special effects. When we do the asset store, I'll show you how to download and use assets like shaders, or you can look it up on your own. Some cool ones give you like cartoony effects where everything's outlined, like the Borderlands series. And this is just a quick introduction to lights and shaders. And in the next video, I'm not quite sure what we'll be going over, but that will be up next week.